Have a very robust developed private sector. I agree with you to an extent, but the point is that we need to have private sector also developed with an equal pace to be a very active participant in the collaboration. So somewhere that gap is missing, possibly again because the policy earlier was not very favorably inclined to the private sector. It's only after Prime Minister Modi came in this started happening. Now, for example, we opened up space to the private sector only in the last 4-5 years. So their capacity building has also started just now. And it happened earlier, maybe they. So we have not many projects, I think, under Prime Minister Modi's government. So many projects, both in infrastructure and otherwise, have been rolled out. But we don't have the sufficient private sector acumen. You have 1 or 2 companies everywhere, you keep looking for that. So I think this will take time because now there is a shift in the policy. Same is the case in the nuclear sector also. Now that we have just announced this year, we come out with the rules. And then when the private sector understands that they are now expected to collaborate at a larger scale, they would also start building capacity for themselves. Anything to do with the department's thing over here, but I don't have the courage to disappoint someone like Soumya. So having said that, as far as the first part is concerned, of course, that was space technology and atomic energy, which had the opportunity to showcase itself, and all the technologies that came into play during those few hours and days were indigenous, developed in the last 10, 11 years, which could be verified. Even the DODs had happened over the last 10 years. And therefore, I don't have to go in detail because that's the department doesn't need to be much discussed publicly. And I also don't indulge in talking out of turn, but I'm glad that both these departments had an opportunity to showcase what has happened in the last 10 years. And primarily the times to come, the entire warfare will be related to these 2 areas of work. And second, as far as the Axiom is concerned, they are now into negotiation. They have decided to come out with the next date after a while, because we already have about 7 astronauts up there in the International Space Station. So they are also now negotiating with the respective countries. We have 2 from Russia over there. And I think soon, because they have, I'm glad they have decided not to put up a date and then not be able to stick to it. So they have very humbly said that they need to take some more time before they finally come out with the final date. But again, I think it's a matter of pride that of the 4 persons going there, the pivotal role is going to be played by Shubhanshu Shukla. A, because he's also a pilot, and B also because he's going to perform some exclusive experiments which again are going to be the global inferences for the rest of the world. And to connect it with today's address corpus, I think Dr. Rajesh Gokhale's department has provided all the kits which will be used by Subhashu in carrying out those experiments at zero gravity and microgravity in this space, whether it's life sciences, trying to assess the impact on the cognitive functions, the faculties of an individual or a human being when you are expected to constantly look at the TV screen or the computer screen. Some of the effects on the muscles, because muscle dysfunction, so how do you strategize that prevention, and then also the microorganisms in the extreme conditions like any water bears, and also some of the plant experiments in case of 6 different crops. And the Department of Biotechnology has actually entered into a formal MOU with the Department of Space. So they are equally involved in Axiom. You want to add to that? From how to what? This is, so Dr. Ravi Chandran's department has started exploring that. And third, natural resource only given to India. Like I said, biodiversity 1, oceans 2, and in third, again, not exactly realized for almost 7 days, the Himalayas. And I'm glad Dr. Kalai Selvi's department has started looking at Himalayas. This purple revolution emanating from Himalayas is becoming a new genre of agri-startup, a new genre of livelihood, and a very lucrative livelihood, also exploding the Western myth that to be a startup, you have to be an IT man. To be a startup, you have to be a PhD. Many of our startups are not even graduates. And that is indigenous startup, emanating from the lab of humanity. So these three major sectors which had remained underexplored or unexplored for the last 7 decades are now getting explored by these three departments. And this is exactly going to add value in each economy number one. Then in the process, as I said, this has also led to the discovery of the talent which had hitherto remained undiscovered. Because we had so many myths, like I said, the startup has to be an IT, startup has to be a very great scientist. Many of these success stories which were being narrated by Dr. Saleh said we are hardly any scientists. They can't, I think, even write the spelling of science, yes, but they have an aptitude for technology. They have an aptitude for passion for the technology, and they are very good learners. The other notable feature of these last few years has been that we have worked in the true spirit of cooperative federalism, which the policymakers keep saying, and science departments are not expected to be a part of it. We are indeed. Our science councils under Dr. Abhay Kanikar have become much more active now. There were times in these states, no civil servant would like to be a science secretary, because he would always keep waiting to be transferred to the department, and therefore the departments would remain neglected. Now we have aligned those technologies with public welfare programs, which has given esteem, whether it's a Swamitva program, whether it's Jal Jeevan Mission, whether it's your soil health agriculture schemes. All these schemes, because of their close alignment with technology, the science departments in these states have also started collaborating. And lastly, because I said I won't be repetitive, I'll just give one each global best practice emanating from each of the departments and being emulated by the rest of the world. And as I said, we have learned to speak with evidence, so this can also be verified. The best practice from the Department of Biotechnology, vaccine, the first ever DNA vaccine, now being emulated by the other countries. They are in fact wondering, a country hardly known for healthcare practices has come out to become a leader in the preventive healthcare. And a global best practice of successful gene trial in hemophilia, which is again a global problem. In fact, hemophilia was also once upon a time known as Queen's disease. The earlier books, if you find 19th century textbooks are written by the British authors, because then after 1980 or so, the entire medicine and science shifted over, academics shifted over from Britain to America. So the earlier authors used to call it Queen's disease because one of the Queen Victoria's relatives had this. It emanated from there. It was worked upon there. Deficiency of clotting factor 8 leading on to bleeding, uncontrolled. Many people would succumb to a bleeding if they had an accident or a trauma. The first gene trial successful has not happened where it was first reported. It has happened through the Department of Biotechnology with a trial conducted at Christian Medical College, Vellore, and it has been reported by none less than New England Journal of Medicine, which is among the oldest science journals, almost 200 years old. New England Journal of Medicine and the British Medical Journal, the two oldest journals emanating from the Great Britain. So that is the other global practice. Now, for the Department of Science and Technology, the geospatial policy, just a talk about, but it's emerged as a global practice. The Swamitva program is also greatly guided by this policy. And the world is wondering how a country as heterogeneous, as vast as India, it's also a peninsula, it's also a Himalaya. It has also island territories. It has also got hill terrains. You could come out with a practice of mapping using drones and satellite images, and you have put the revenue officer out of job. You have made the farmer, the landowner, the master of his own destiny. And that is exactly the spirit of citizen-centric governance. As I said, we have aligned our technologies with the governance. So there is again a global practice to be followed. As far as the Ministry of Earth Sciences is concerned, way back in
आप देख रहे हैं लाइव न्यूज टीवी 9 राष्ट्र सबसे पहले।